Hey everyone, Kent Stones of Stones Insight, doing our live stream. Today we're going to talk about trust. And trust is something I think you're going to find that we are going to start focusing on a lot at Stones Insight and on our other site, Fake Not. And the reason being is that I think we're all pretty aware that there is a significant trend towards companies being purpose-driven, brands being purpose-driven, and with the intent being, if we do that, we believe that people, through their shared values or shared beliefs, will trust us. And what we're going to talk about is how trust is more than purpose and is driven by more than purpose. And in particular, more and more people are choosing brands based on three things, and I've written a blog about this before, but the first being is it being sustainably built and distributed? Second is it improving life in some way? And the third is it actually improving the communities where it exists and where it's present? So trust is a really important aspect, and we're going to start talking about this more and more. But the first thing I wanted to do before we even start talking deeply about trust is, what is it? How do you define trust? And there's two types of trust that I want to talk about briefly today. The first is functional, and the second is called emotional trust. Functional trust is a basic expectation that we have that when we take an action, something is going to occur, and there's really not a lot of risk to us in taking that action. So how I would describe that is, when you think about when you swipe a credit card, you have a level of functional trust that the transaction is going to go through, that the monetary system in our country works, and that appropriate credits will happen, all the things that happen behind the scenes are going to happen. We just trust that because 99.942, made that up, percent of the time, things happen the way they're supposed to. Every once in a while they don't. We get a glitch, and it reduces our trust a little bit. So the next time we swipe, we're like, hope this is going to work. But for the most part, we just know that's going to happen. Another example would be driving along the street. We trust that other people are going to follow the same rules and regulations that we do. And for the most part, that happens. But occasionally there's an accident. When somebody doesn't, it erodes our trust a little bit, and we're a little careful drivers for a while. But for the most part, we have a high level of functional trust when we take that behavior of getting in the car and driving somewhere. So that gives you an idea of what functional trust, and I think you can really equate that to product quality, distribution, good service. All of those things people have come to expect as a result of buying something or having some kind of interaction with a brand. Now, the second part, and the really hard level of trust, is called emotional trust. And I want to read to you a definition based on a great paper that I just read that talks about what emotional trust is. And it is the willingness of a party to be vulnerable to the actions of another based on the expectation that that other is going to perform some action that's important to the person who is interested in trusting. And there's a risk to it, because oftentimes the person has very little control over whether or not that action is going to benefit them or not. So they have to take if they are going to trust someone, there's a high level of risk that they're facing. This is what happens when people, an employee or a manager at a company trusts an employee to take on a very special project. By doing that, and they trust that employee, they're taking a big risk, because if it doesn't work out, that can be a big concern, or it can impact their career. On the flip side, the employee has to trust the manager that they're going to cover for them if they're taking on a special project and it impacts their other work. So you can see that there's continuum of trust. And an important note about it is all trust starts with functional trust. No matter what the interaction, no matter what the relationship, it all starts with that very basic level of functional trust. That are you doing what you say you're going to do? Are you delivering a quality service, product, or interaction? And then it can progress to emotional trust, but it all starts with functional, but not all trust does progress to emotional trust. And what makes that progress is the amount of risk that you're facing. So that gives you an idea of the two types of trust that exist, how we're going to be talking about this as we think about trust and talk about it over the next months and hopefully years. But hope it was helpful, and we'll be broadcasting from our other site, Fake Not, this Friday, where we're going to talk about a little bit more about the three elements that are actually driving trust. And we'll post that video here so that you'll have it on both this site and on Fake Not as well. Talk to you soon.